welcome. Today we're going to do a beautiful cold process soap. It's really easy. It's great to follow along. We're going to have a lot of fun. And because it's been so cold and with summer on the horizon, I am going to make it a sea breeze theme with beautiful different colors of blues and stuff to go in. The recipe that we are making has 900 grams of oils, and then the rest is the lye and the water. So for our lye solution, we have got a 33% lye and a 67% water. That is for this recipe. And the soap that we're making today is a very mild and great recipe. It's made with coconut oil and palm oil. And then I'm going to also use a bit of olive oil just to give it a bit more creaminess. So coconut oil and palm oil is what gives it its firmness, and the olive oil will give it its creaminess. When making the lye solution, please be very careful about the safety because it is something that can be quite dangerous to work with. Please remember when working with it that you pour the lye slowly and gently into the water so that it doesn't erupt. Also, make sure you're wearing your safety equipment so that you're working safe, and make sure that the area you're working in is well ventilated. Yeah, so let me show you what we need to get started, and here we go. So before we start, we have to melt down this coconut oil so that we can get the amount out that we need. And we also have to, it's very important with palm oil, we have to melt the entire bottle of palm oil, and then make sure that it is stirred really well to make sure all the fatty acids and everything is well combined before we take out the amount that we need for our recipe. So we're going to do that now quickly, and once it's melted, we'll come back. So we've spoken about the oils, but let's see what else we need. So we need a stick blender, we'll need some spatulas, we need our safety equipment when working with the lye. So we'll have gloves and goggles. Always make sure you've also got a long sleeve top on. We've got our jugs for mixing different colors. Here we have our mold to make our soap. We have our distilled water and our sodium hydroxide. We have our micas and essential oils. This is the big one I'm going to be mixing all the oils into before I separate them to make colors, and our scale. Alright, so here we go, let's get going. So we're going to put 200 grams of coconut oil. I have melted all my palm oil, and I'm actually going to do it with this ladle, and then I will put the rest in a container. We need 400 grams of palm oil. Okay, and now we need 300 grams of olive oil. Right, that's our oils done. Now we're going to measure out our sodium hydroxide and water. So I've just transferred all my oils into this bowl so that I can melt it on the stove or heat it up on the stove nicely, so that our lye water and oils are at a similar temperature when we combine the two together. So now I'm going to set that aside, and we're going to do our lye mix. We're going to put our lye into this little beaker, and for that we need 129.34 grams, and that is, with our oils we have a 5% excess fat, a super fat of 5%. So we're going to do a lye concentration which adds up to 129.34. Alright, so now we're going to add our water, and for that we need 268 grams of water. Okay. Great, now we're going to heat it up and while we heat up the oils, we will do our lye mixture and allow it to cool. Alright, let's do our solution. We're going to add this in slowly and stir. And as we pour this in, the water heats up, and that is what melts the lye. But it gets quite hot, which is why there are fumes that come with it. And that is why we've got to keep the place well ventilated, make sure there are no pets around or small children that can grab onto things. I'm just going to put this under it because it gets really, really, really hot. Okay, so this is now really boiling, very, very hot. And so now we're going to just set it aside to cool down. And when the temperature is low enough, so I've gotten my thermal gun out so that we can check the temperature as we go. So it's 74 at the moment, 73.7. So we are cooling the lye water down to approximately 48 degrees Celsius. Somewhere in that range is great, anywhere from there or a bit lower. And we need the oils and the water to be of a similar temperature before we mix them together. So we are stirring and checking continuously as it cools down. And at the moment now it is at 59.5. So getting there. So now I'm going to transfer the oils back into this container, this jug. So now I'm going to transfer the oils back into this bowl, and then I'm going to check the temperature of it and see how close we are to being ready to combine our oils and our lye water. So that is 58.4 and this is 57.8. So that's wonderful, similar. So our temperatures are now both at a great range, 45.4 and 47. So we're going to now mix the lye water into the oil. Right. Thank you. Now we're going to start with our stick blender. So we've got our stick blender ready. What we need to do now is we are going to put the stick blender in, tap the bottom, and just knock it a few times for any bubbles. It's called burping the stick blender. Once you don't see any more bubbles coming up, now we can start our blending. So how we're going to do this is we're going to do short little bursts and stir, and short little bursts and stir, and we're going to do this until we see a trace. When we see a trace happening, that's when we know there is saponification happening, and that's when we can start moving it around and adding the colors to it. So here we go. So I almost see a trace starting, which is great, means we're nearly ready. Right, so we've reached trace, and so now we're going to start separating everything and making our colors. Okay, so let's start with our first one. We're going to do this one. Is going to be the gold. That's going to be for our little sandy kind of looking section at the bottom. I think that should be enough. Here we will do our dark blue. This is aquamarine. And in here, we will do our mica deep blue. And now to add some scent. So I have put in altogether 20 drops of lavender, 2 drops of eucalyptus, 2 drops of rosemary, 2 drops of peppermint, and 3 drops of lemon in each one. Oh, lovely and fresh. Okay, now let's put them all into our mold. I did wait a tiny bit long, so it has gone a bit thicker than I could have done with. So I'm just mixing slight mix of one color with another, just a slight, just to give it a nice mix of colors. Now I've just mixed a little bit of the normal color, which will be a slight white color, in amongst this blue. And I think we're going to end now with a little bit of sky blue. I think that would make a great little topping. Give it one quick little burn. And we do our final little layer at the top. So you can also start to do this process when it is slightly softer, and then that's a great way of doing swirls and all of that. I'm just going to do some little swirls here. And then we will do a little bit of a little swirl at the top. I'm just going to wait for it to thicken up just a tiny bit more before we do that. So this is going to be our little wave section. I think that's really cute. It smells lovely. And we just hope that when we open it up. So that is it. We're now going to let this set. And once it is set, we'll take it out of the mold and have a look at what it turned out like. Hope you enjoyed making this with me, and yeah, we'll see you back shortly when we unmold. Okay, so it's been 48 hours and it's time to unmold and see how this looks inside. Oh, look at those purple colours. So I think that this was caused because I had waited for it to get a bit harder, so I don't think I tapped it enough just to cover those little air bubbles. Not air bubbles, those gaps. Here we go, let's cut through and see how we look inside. Oh, not bad. Smells lovely. There we have it, a beautiful soap. Remember that everything we use can be found on the website, the Fun with Soap website. It was really fun to make, so I hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you in the next one.